Hey Punch members, it's your trainer, Damien, coming to you from Punch. Today I'm going to show you how to wrap hands. Basically, when you wrap your hands, you want to keep your wrist flat with your arm and your palm of your hand. Always keep your fingers wide. I see a lot of people holding a limp hand when they're wrapping, and then they complain about it hurts after because they didn't get the right wrap. So what we're going to do is stick our thumb through the loop. The hand wrap is always going to have a little seam. That seam is going to go down over the top of the wrist. Don't have that seam up. The hand wrap should always be 180 inches long and they're 2 inches wide. So put the seam down above the wrist, keep the hand flat, keep the fingers wide. A lot of times you can have the top of the wrist, on the wrist, and below the wrist, which is the beginning of the palm. So go once across the top, full rotation, right around the middle of the wrist, and then the bottom of the wrist. That's 3 times. Now loop it across the thumb. Keep your hands wide. Don't try and grab it and do all that excessive turning, because you have to make it seem nice and concrete like a cast so you don't have any injuries. So wrap it fully around the thumb and default back to the wrist. Now come to the top of the wrist, not at the bottom near the palm. Go back around the top of the wrist once, then come across the bottom of the palm, over the top of the palm to the left pinky, and go across the whole palm. That's basically a crisscross. Default back to the wrist again one more time. Now you rotate it around the wrist one time, come around the knuckles, all the way around the knuckles twice. Keep your fingers real wide. Once, twice around the knuckles, and make sure you have the full width of the 2 inches. That's enough protection. Don't resist closing. Keep them open. That sets it real well where you feel nice and secure when you punch the bag. Keep the tension on the rope right here, on the hand wrap right here. Let's come all the way across to the bottom of the wrist, on the wrist, and above the wrist. Then default to the bottom of the wrist, between the pinky and the ring finger. Come back across the bottom of the wrist and over through the next set of fingers, which is the ring finger and the middle finger. Now come around the bottom of the wrist, make sure you got the fullness of the 2 inches. Come back around the top of the wrist again, or the center of the wrist, and come around the middle finger and the index finger. Now wrap it around the wrist one time. Make sure you have enough tension, not too tight and not too loose. And hit the Velcro, and now you got a nice, solid hand wrap. And I'll be back with more.